All right. On when is this? On the 7th, we got Mars the Specialist. On the 14th, we got AJ Kazana, and on the 15th, we got Joe Kazana. So yeah, uh, father and son in the same week. That's awesome. All right. It's time for news, and we are wrestling with the news. And it was a great day for wrestling, as earlier this week, Jay Briscoe's daughters were released from the hospital. Still not able to walk as of this recording, but it is still a good step in the right direction. No, guys.
Well, absolutely, without a doubt. Um, uh, um, if there's a silver lining to any of this, it's that. Um, and um, to add to that, Ring of Honor and company Dorsey Art have planned to release a new limited edition print to benefit uh, Jay's family. Uh, it, it will be a Jay Briscoe Forever uh, print. Only 500 will be available, uh, and the print is priced at $25. 100% of the profits going to the family. They went on sale at 1 p.m. on the day of this recording. I don't think there are any left. Checking right now. Uh, yes, there are. And that's at Pro Wrestling Tees.
Okay. So, I mean, if you love Jay Briscoe and was a fan of his work, this was a great way to show your appreciation and, you know, give back to the family. All right. Good news, bad news, depending on how you want to see it. Jeff Hardy's legal troubles are finally settled. I believe that he got 24 months probation, suspended license, has to go back to driving school. Um, some of the some of the things I could remember. Um, but I mean, nothing was said about pro wrestling, if he's going to come back, if he's not going to come back, if he should come back. Scooter, is this a good thing for his career, a bad thing for his career? Should he stay away? What are your thoughts on Jeff Hardy?
Well, um, at this point, and again, I make I make no effort to conceal the fact that I am an addict. I do not hide that. Um, and that's what Jeff is. Jeff is an addict. And the one real major thing that addicts are told before they do anything is to separate yourself from the the trigger that would cause you to fall into your addiction. And that's pro wrestling here. I think Jeff needs to retire at this point. You know, all it takes is Jeff getting injured and boom, back on the pain pills. And then boom, back on the pain pills. They're like, oh, I might as well drink now too. And so what if I don't have a license? No, Jeff Hardy, I mean, a almost 30-year run. I mean, I was watching a match between Nikolai Volkov and Matt Hardy from 1994.
Wow.
Yeah, back when Matt Hardy had a buzz cut. And I mean, maybe there's one or two moments or two accomplishments that Jeff will miss out on that he won't get a chance to fulfill. But at the same time, he also has many other achievements, especially because I think Jeff and Matt, aside and I'm not including X-Pac in this because that was planned. Matt and Jeff are really the examples, are really only examples of how enhancement talent could go from being an enhancement talent all the way to the top of the industry.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
Jeff and all his stuff, all his accomplishments in wrestling will not be forgotten. Will some of his mistakes not be forgotten? Yeah. Some some the mistakes may never go away. But Jeff just needs to focus on living one day at a time. Forget about seeing us in the future. Just try to get to tomorrow.
Kaliko, what are your thoughts on Jeff Hardy, finishing up some legal issues?
I mean, shit, Scooter said it best. Like the legal part's over, but that doesn't mean it's over. And and at this point, all you can do is just what Scooter said. I was about to say the same thing. One day at a time. Just make sure the the one day is better than the next, and the better than the next, and that's all you can do. Is just start the foundation and build the disciplines. Because, I mean, he can wrestle, but if he just takes time out to build that discipline, I think it could help. But I also think his brother was his biggest safeguard, and that's where I think, because keep in mind, when he was back with his brother, Harley got in trouble. Matt left, got in trouble.
Hmm.
So Matt is kind of literally his brother's keeper. But um, But yeah, one day at a time. That's all you can do, and just take a time out to focus on that. And then when you come back, everybody be have you back with open arms because it's Jeff Hardy, and like he's some Rudy boo.
I
And
love Jeff Hardy, one of my all-time favorites. Um, but if the wrestling is a trigger for him that he's getting into this trouble because it seems like when he wasn't wrestling he was okay, and when wrestling came into the picture, that's when things were not okay. Um, if he wants to stay away from the wrestling, I would be okay with that. He has a great legacy. We have tons of Jeff Hardy matches we could watch. Um, I wouldn't be opposed to, if he wanted to come back to WWE, have a one-off retirement match against somebody, worth his time, and then go into the Hall of Fame and call it, not have that be the last blemish on his career. You know what I mean?
I mean, I I think it would be maybe a little bit of irony if Jeff Hardy's last match was against Edge, and it was Edge's last match too. You know, back around the time when Jeff had his run with the World Heavyweight title, and which, by the way, that wouldn't have happened without Freddie Prinze Jr.
Right.
A part of me always thought that either Jeff was going to win the Rumble and go to WrestleMania and face Cena for the title, or the other way around. Cena would win and go and face Jeff. Because that was one of the matches it almost seemed they were kind of hinting to in the background. It was also one of the huge matches that we never got to see except for one time on Raw. So, I mean, who knows at this point?
Another who knows at this point situation is Kenny Omega's contract is coming up. It was reported, rumor and innuendo, that it's sometime now, but that it may have some rollover because he was injured for 9 months. So it could be until November. So what are your thoughts on Kenny Omega potentially leaving AEW now or in November? Kaliko.
That motherfucker ain't leaving. He ain't leaving. I mean, if you saw what he was talking to Sasha Banks about, he ain't leaving. It just gives. I mean, he feels like he's got more to finish in New Japan. He can't do that if he's in WWE.
Um,
Plus, I mean, I don't think he would leave the Bucks high and dry like that either. Because I think they would either all go or all stay.
I mean, we did see Carl Anderson as a Neville champion while still being employed by WWE, and we did see Nakamura versus Keiji Muto. So I mean, it's not out of the realms that Kenny Omega could compete for New Japan while also being in WWE.
But those were one off. Like, he ain't going to be able to do a story like he did with Osprey or the quote unquote possible mixed tag with Mercedes Monet. I keep wanting to say Sasha Banks, but it doesn't stop that from happening. It'll stop that from happening because it would take more time away from him. Because if that's the case, Cody could have been able to do both AEW and WWE, but he knew if he went back, they were going to expect a lot from him. Because to whom much is given, much is required. And a lot would be required of Kenny Omega if he jumps his WWE. That's for damn sure.
What say you, Scooter?
Hmm. Do we? It seems like we we talk about this every week now. I mean, if Kenny goes, for the shit, I forgot how I was going to phrase this. If if Kenny leaves AEW and does end up in the WWE, it's gonna be his, it's gonna be on his terms. I'm not here because I need you. I'm here because I've done everything else.
Right.
I mean, could Kenny be the first uh, uh, quadruple promotion Grand Slam champion? He's been AEW champion. He's been Impact champion. He's been
New Japan, AAA.
New Japan, and AAA. Literally, the only one now on that list is the WWE, and I think the only other person that comes close is AJ.
Well, he was never in AEW.
I know, but he's been IWGP. He's been ROH.
He's been Impact.
This is true.
I mean, technically, he's been TNA and Impact.
And Impact. Correct. Same with Kenny, in a sense. Yeah.
Do you think that the reason he would go to WWE would be because, say what you will about AEW, most of it's true. The WWE has a safer style of wrestling, and he's not exactly, on the younger side anymore. So it would be maybe a lighter schedule, a lighter a fighting style. Um, I think it might work better for him. And, getting to wrestle, AJ Styles, which is a match he's wanted to do. You know what I mean?
But you can only do so many V triggers, and then that's one. Two, he's capable of wrestling within psychology. It's just a matter of what stories would he be in which the story can be told when he's in the ring.
Right.
I think it also depends on if anyone has kicked out of the one-winged angel by the time his contract is up.
Oh, nobody's kicking out of one winged angel. If he goes to WWE, somebody for damn sure is kicking out of
I can probably tell you somebody from AEW is returning to WWE sooner rather than later, and is most likely going to be the either the WrestleMania return or the Raw after WrestleMania return.
That being,
Andrade.
meh.
On SmackDown last night, you had Dominic and Rhea confronting Charlotte, and Charlotte mentioning how she has a real Hispanic man with a real Hispanic accent waiting for her at home. And that that the talk of him returning as, oh, he's been there. I think now it's even going to be it's even more certain because I mean everybody knows that Charlotte and Andrade are together,
Right.
And it also makes me think that there's no way Rhea is winning because they will want the pop of the happy couple reuniting.
I
But then
mean,
again,
does anybody give a shit about Andrade at this point? I mean, the pop would only be, oh my god, he was on AEW, now he's on WWE, and then it would go that pop would go into the good night, and we would never hear it again.
I'm not exact.
Essentially, you'd be giving that money for one pop and to make Charlotte happy. That's what he said. That's what that was.
And speaking of Charlotte, happy birthday, Ric Flair.
So yeah, we have better, Hispanic wrestlers on WWE TV that could work and could actually cut a promo. I mean, Santos Escobar has far exceeded anything that Andrade did in WWE, especially on the main roster. And
But
I mean, if they give Angel Garza a shot, he's got some work to him. Um, and I mean Dominic. Dominic is at some point he's going to be up there.
That's Death Row Dominic to you, sir.
Ex-con Dom.
I don't like Ex-Con Dom. I like Death Row Dom better. It sounds
Ex-con Von Dom.
Well, I mean, ex-con Dom is more family friendly than Death Row Dom.
Really? Ex-condom?
yeah, that don't sound right. At least Death Row,
You can't have
what?
death in somebody's in a nickname or a
Oh,
name.
okay. Yay. Then we can stop calling Moxley's stupid butterfly suplex a Death Rider.
In WWE, I mean, we
But
don't.
he never did a butterfly suplex.
No, I mean, Karrion Cross was Killer Cross. You can't have killer or death in your name.
Well, I mean, Carrion actually has a much more disgusting connotation to it.
Yeah, true.
I
All right.
mean, I get your point, but from they call him Ex-Con Don, I call him Death Row Dom.
I mean, then by that reasoning, why don't we have uh the why don't we have the raid games instead of war games?
Facts.
Back going back to Kenny Omega for one moment. Do you think his contract's coming up now or in November?
I mean, does AEW do those freezing things? If they do, it's November. But if not, then it's now. But I mean, he's basically VP, so I wouldn't think they would. I mean, would he freeze his own contract?
I mean, I have to imagine there's a clause for this where any time missed is just added on to the end of his contract.
Okay. Go keeping up with AEW news. Once again, Ariel Helwani is in the news with Tony Khan. He was on SmackDown last week to promote the Elimination Chamber. And he was in the crowd, and Tony Khan replied to to that happening on Twitter with biased journalism. You're no better than Tony Schiavone or something to that extent. What? What? Just why? Why is Tony
Like,
Khan doing this?
like, Eric Bischoff said it best. Tony Khan is a petulant child.
Yeah.
Like, it's like he believes, he could go plant his flag in something and be like, mine. Like, so what if Ariel Helwani is in the crowd? He's also Canadian and from Montreal. How about Tony? How about you do an event in Montreal and invite him in? I mean, you went to Toronto and didn't invite him.
Did the feud start before that happened? I can't remember.
Uh, Tony keeps writing checks with his mouth that his butt can't cash. Because his butt doesn't accept Apple Pay. But like, and it's like saying. It's like it's a like nobody made remarks like this when JR was on the AEW broadcast team. Especially after being off WWE television for quite some time. I mean, is there some unknown broken bond between Ariel Helwani and Tony Khan?
Well, this is the official tweet that he sent out pertaining to Ariel Helwani. You're a fraud, Ariel Helwani. You're as legitimate as a reporter as Tony Schiavone. Hashtag AEW Rampage. Why he had to hashtag Rampage?
Why did he have to drag Schiavone into this?
I mean, what did Schiavone do?
That's some shade.
I mean, if he's this tweet as a whole, if he's shitting on anybody, it's Tony Schiavone.
Yeah.
You're a fraud and as legitimate as a reporter as Tony Schiavone. That's what he's saying.
I'm thinking there's something here we're not being told. And I'm thinking Tony asked him to come to AEW's Canadian debut, and Ariel said no. Also, he has to remember Ariel Helwani is not a WWE employee.
True. Kaliko, this isn't a good look for a company, an owner of a company to throw shade at a reporter, no?
I mean, considering Ariel's done had beef with literally everybody. I mean, what, ESPN, UFC? I mean, this is no different under his belt, but I mean, for Tony, it's very petulant a little bit. Um, I don't see how anyone could defend this, especially considering it was a one night only. It wasn't like oh yeah, I'm with the WWE for good. It was one night only.
He was at
But
Elimination Chamber the next day, but just as a spectator, he didn't have any involvement.
yeah, that's my point. It was a one night only work, but I mean, the one thing that you should know as an owner, never let them see you sweat. Because just flip the script and think if this was Vince McMahon doing it, what everyone else would be saying. And if you know what your answer would be, then you can say the same about Tony.
I mean,
Plain and simple.
Vince McMahon would have given this guy the time of day to begin with. He's never been one to show him that but what's the phrase? Let him not. Don't let him show that it's working
See,
on you or something like
don't
that.
let him see you sweat.
Don't let him see you sweat. There you go. And especially on Twitter, because I don't think Vince McMahon uses Twitter all that much to begin with. Um, and you know what? Props to Michael Cole on the Elimination Chamber. Best line of the night. That's Ariel Helwani, an unbiased journalist who asks the hard questions. You don't have to answer, but he'll ask them. Yeah. All right. Talking about unbiased journalism, the Wrestling Observer. Um, they had their awards, I suppose. They have Wrestling Observer awards, and AEW dominated all categories, including Tony Khan as Booker of the Year. Kaliko, your thoughts on Tony Khan as Booker of the Year?
What the fuck did he book? Like, I'm just asking. Uh, I mean, I, I, I mean, I'm assuming this is based off last year. Uh, what did he book? It,
Catering.
other than uh, having AEW literally in the same three cities, which is basically Vegas, Jacksonville, and Chicago.
They had it New York. They were in New York like for a month.
Like I
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
like I said,
But
but
yeah, continue.
but I mean, they're the new thing, and we all know Mets are. I mean, I'm not gonna say he has it in for him, but I mean, congrats to him. It's their time in the sun, but to me, I don't see anything really different between them last year and this year. I mean, he won in a Daniel Bryan won award for Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
That is all you need to know. Ugh, just fucking A.
Scooter?
Yeah, I mean, why? Why does it have to? You know what? I can't understand this. So I can't wrap my head around it. I mean, when the top team in your company is calling their, finisher the Meltzer driver.
Yep.
Uh, and it's
Crazy. I know.
yep.
Probably hard to wrap your head around that now.
It is.
Well, I don't think WWE is going to lose any sleep on that one, though.
Fuck
Um,
no, because they went in the stock market. Fuck all that bullshit. Like, fuck a one. We got them dividends, bitch.
alright, well, we already knew this, but Bully Ray kind of brought it to light. Um, Jon Moxley bleeds too much on AEW TV.
Oh,
Or
thank
just
God
in
somebody
general.
said it. Oh
Huh?
my God. Thank God somebody said it. Oh God.
I mean, when Bully Ray, Bubba Ray Dudley, one of the innovator of violence in the Extreme Championship Wrestling, did horrible, inexcusable things on that show, tells you that you're bleeding too much and your bleeding means nothing. Don't you kind of have to look in the mirror and say, well, is what I'm doing right or wrong, Scooter?
I mean, even the girls from Two Girls One Cup are looking at AEW and going, "That is some fucked up stuff." Uh, I'm. It's. I mean, Moxley is the sort of the he was the bridge between when CZW and XPW were competing against each other as the most hardcore promotion, only for CZW to kind of, you know, take a more, relaxed approach to how much violence and how much weapons and everything. And, Mox is like the final product of that because, uh, I can tell you, my day job in captioning, we get a lot of CZW, uh, highlight career retrospectives. Um, uh, did one the other day on Leo Rush. Um,
Leo Rush?
Leo Rush, yeah.
Oh, sure. Hmm.
Um, and Mox loved to bleed. He loved it. And what scares me is that Moxley is seen as the shining example of AEW. Moxley has stepped into the role as locker room leader. And
Which is a little scary.
and how many are going to say, even if they didn't want to, that all right, I want to impress Mox. I want to bleed like a stuck pig. Example, this past Wednesday on Dynamite, Evil Uno in the main event, first of all, but uh, Evil Uno, whether he meant to blade, or rather meant to bleed that much, I'm not sure. But what he did, whatever sort of mark he made to blade, um, it got worse. Uh, it was it was to a point where I'm wondering, okay, stop the goddamn match. He's gonna drown in his own blood. That's how much he was bleeding.
Yeah.
And when you could say, "Oh, I bled more than Jon Moxley in a match against Jon Moxley," there's a problem. And this sets a really bad example, even though Mox is a really stand-up human being. And all it takes for this to backfire, because it's blood is one of the selling points of AEW. Let's be honest.
You're not wrong.
All it takes. Well, you know what? Let's go back to No Mercy 2005. Undertaker against Randy Orton and Bob Orton Jr. in a handicap casket match. Bob Orton's bleeding all over the place. Afterwards, we find out he has freaking hepatitis.
Yeah.
He had hepatitis before, not after, and it was such a controversy to the point where Bob won RKO later that week, and Bob Orton Jr. was never seen on WWE television again. So, it takes one person with a blood-borne pathogen to not just put the entire locker room in danger, but the fans as well. Like, we're in this post-pandemic world of where that we were supposed to be afraid of any contact, let alone dealing with blood and rolling around in it too.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean, they gotta cut back, or else somebody is gonna die live on AEW television, and it's gonna be because they either cut too deep, or who knows, maybe someone. Do we know if anybody on the roster is a hemophiliac?
I mean, not that I know of.
It's all these things that have to be taken into account.
Right.
Oh, man.
You know, it just... You know, we talked about, Jeff Hardy being an addict. Is Jon Moxley an addict of getting busted open and bleeding? Is that even a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the idea of I think it's a lot more personal with Moxley than we realize. Because while he was in WWE, he got over and he rarely bled.
He wasn't allowed to bleed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I really think he was a bit afraid that his WWE popularity wouldn't carry over into AEW. And so here comes CZW Mox back and in full force. I think Moxley is of the idea that if I don't bleed, the fans are not going to like it. Or if I don't bleed, I don't think I did a good enough job.
I mean, that's not a great way of looking at it, because if people are just expecting you to bleed every time and then you have to do it, like you said, you're putting not only yourself but other people at risk for catching something.
Let me ask you this. What is one of the most iconic scenes in wrestling involving a close-up of a wrestler bleeding?
Stone Cold and Bret Hart.
Bingo. This past Wednesday, outdid it by miles. I'm surprised Uno didn't pop an artery.
But, that's apples and oranges at this point. It's not, I don't see that as the same thing.
See, that's why I have fruit punch. Best of both worlds.
Is, squash in that?
Now, everybody knows squash goes in fruit salad.
Yeah, good. We're eating it right now. Oh, nothing from Kaliko. Is he still here?
No, I'm still here, but I was waiting on you to say, I was waiting on you to go, what do you think, Kaliko?
Well, what do you think, Kaliko?
Well,
oh, gosh. I know, right?
Yeah, I mean, how do you follow
But,
that?
well, I mean, the problem with AEW is that they bleed. The bleeding is not for a reason, right? Like usually when people bleed, it's because it's a reason, right? It's like Austin bleeding in that match because it was the end of a storyline that lasted like 8 months, right? And it got to a point where it was beyond the wrestling. And Moxley bleeding just to bleed on a Tuesday is just really, really dangerous, especially considering he has a daughter. Um, I just look at it from that aspect, the family aspect of it, because he has a family to go home to. And to me, I don't want to say it, but it sounds like it's a little selfish in a sense, right?
Yeah, man.
It's a little bit. I'm not. Because in the sense that, why would he bleed in a match like that that's meaningless? Like I could see if he was bleeding in the Texas, and keep in mind he has a Texas death match. I could see the bleeding there because the story kind of brings it in, but uh,
it depends if it's a true Texas death match, which in a Texas death match, there shouldn't be any bleeding to begin with, because a Texas death match is you get the pinfall or submission, and you either have a 10 count, anywhere from 10 seconds to 60 seconds to get back up. And if you get back up, the match continues. But Moxley also, when he announced the match, he just said Texas Death.
Yeah.
He didn't say match. Everybody on Reddit was waiting for him to add that word. You know, it's and I hate to say this, so knock on wood, but it's almost like he has a death wish.
I mean,
Because he's absolutely unsure about whether or not he could succeed without, all the blood and, doing one up on the previous time. And it's oh my god. It reminds me of seeing Mikey Whipwreck constantly retire and then unretire, even though it was advised he really shouldn't have gotten back in the ring ever after the first time he retired. We all thought in the locker room that he wanted to go out in the ring. I mean, luckily he's safe and sound now.
yeah.
It's just some.
Yeah. Alright, we could be on this topic all day, so let's get into another one. Cameron Grimes, supposedly is going to make his WWE debut, the main roster. But they haven't had anything for him yet. Which kind of sounds crazy because I feel like the whole um Baron Corbin being rich and having JBL by his side was a perfect way to introduce Cameron Grimes to be, three rich guys together and teaming together and maybe breathe some new life into Baron Corbin. Obviously he didn't. Obviously they didn't go that route, but what do you do with Cameron Grimes when he comes back? Well, when he makes his main roster debut, Nico?
I mean, it depends. He's a solid hand. Personally, I think the fact that they don't have none for him is not good. If the best time to pull him up was after the LA Knight feud because he was over like Rover.
Yeah, but
Um,
that was like 3 years ago.
was it? That was like a year ago. At least two.
Yeah, it was 20.
It, it, it,
It was
it was just before 2.0 began.
it was a while ago, but
Yeah. But does nobody realize that Cameron has been in front of us this entire time?
are you referring to Uncle Howdy?
Yes.
Oh God, no. That's a complete waste of Cameron Grimes.
I mean, is it though?
I mean, a man with the resources, you know, that Cameron supposedly has, plus his connection back to the Hardys.
What does the Hardys
Which,
have to do with Bray Wyatt?
really, James?
Oh yeah, that's right. He was his tag team partner. Okay.
And the Wyatt family compound match
Yeah.
and the Hardy compound match
And the compound match.
and the dilapidated catamaran. Vanguard won. From that night, Vanguard lost.
The match
I mean,
with LA Knight was July 6th, 2021. But continue, Scooter.
it just. I don't. I don't know if I could buy Bo Dallas as Captain Howdy, because that's just going to be an absolute. Yeah, it's a fart in a stiff wind. And I notice all the mannerisms of Uncle Howdy when he's actually out in the ring next to Bray Wyatt, and I'm seeing all these gestures that Cameron Grimes does.
What say you, Khalifa? Oh, did we lose Khalifa?
You never lose me. I mean, to me, Cameron has to come as Cameron. He can't be Uncle Howdy. He's like I said, he's a solid dude. Let him have his own name. Don't associate him with Bray because the expectations are high for Bray. Like right now, Bray coming back is like a boomer bust because the assumption is that Vince didn't know what he was doing when he let Bray go. So now it's Bray's back, and now it's on Bray to get Bray over. I don't think that pressure should be on Cameron Grimes as Uncle Howdy or anywhere near associated with it. If he's masked, maybe that's cool, but allow him to flourish under his own shine. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Speaking of shining, Mercedes Monet won the IWGP Women's Championship against Kyrie. I believe it was last Saturday. Um, yeah. So Monet is now an IWGP champion. Your thoughts, Khalifa?
Not gonna lie, I didn't see that shit coming. I mean, I kind of thought it was like okay, a one off, but guess I guess not. And it's interesting. Um, I will say this: her outfit really ingratiated the Japanese culture and a certain Japanese wrestler we lost too soon. So at least she's starting out on the right foot. Um, to me, the biggest hurdle is going to be the language barrier hurdle because let's face it, she's from Boston slash LA and she ain't speaking goddamn Japanese. So other than that, we'll see where it goes because now she's the champion. You gave her the belt. Where are the challengers? Because it's a newly formulated division with a newly formulated belt. So now you got to find newly formulated challengers.
Right. I kind of felt like, and New Japan does this. They just gave her the belt just to say that Sasha Banks was their champion. I mean, Kyrie barely defended that championship once, if that. And, she could have been, a decent first champion. Well, we only saw her win the belt, defend the belt, lose the belt. Literally, those three beats. Um, in her three appearances on NJPW TV. Um, maybe it goes. there's a redemption arc there. Who knows? Um, but yeah, I and maybe they don't have Monet for that long of time, so they're just getting it in now. So she could maybe put somebody over at the end of this. Um,
N-
because
Now, with that, I give you that part because the only reason I give New Japan the benefit of the doubt is that they're really good at callbacks. They'll call that bitch, and they might not call it back immediately, but eventually they'll call that bitch back, and and Kyrie will get the get back. You see what I'm saying?
what
So I give New Japan the benefit of the doubt in that regard. Um, However, I mean, Rio had the AEW title longer than Kyrie had the IWGP title, and I have the art. And Kyrie's a way better marketing wrestler than Rio.
that we could agree on. Scooter, any thoughts on
Uh, big deal.
what? And now a quick word from our sponsors.